It's Thursday, which means we're beaming down with Star Trek Lower Decks once again. Hey everyone, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Trek Central. Star Trek Lower Decks Episode 3 has aired this morning on CBS All Access and of course CTV Sci-Fi and the streaming service Crave. Episode 3 is written by Dave Einfeld and David Wright and is also directed by Bob Schwarz. The premise of the third episode, titled Temporal Edict, is the crew has a new tight schedule to keep as Mariner and Commander Ransom head down to a planet to offer gifts. What could go wrong? Of course, before we do warp in, if you are new around here, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video. We'll be here every week reviewing brand new episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks as they air. Also, on Sundays at 9 PM BST, catch us live on our YouTube channel as we discuss a new episode with special guests and answer your questions. Looking forward to seeing you there. That's Sunday at 9 PM BST. Spoiler warning, we'll of course be discussing the third episode in full detail, so be warned, there will be spoilers for Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 1, Episode 3. You have been warned. Alright, it's warp time. As common in Star Trek The Next Generation, Data would play his violin in 10-4, the bar, or read poetry. This time we have Boimler playing his violin to music written about his mother. Before we can continue, Ensign Mariner and Tendi come in and play some rock music. It's quite intense to put it that way. This loud music can be heard even by the nearby Klingon bird of prey, which is amazing to see a Next Generation bird of prey once again, prompting the leader of the Great Bear Pack, Lieutenant Shax, to deal with it. Mariner and Tendi finish before Shax arrive, Boimler continues, and Shax then breaks Boimler's violin, thinking he was the source of the loud music. These cold opens we get for Star Trek Lower Decks are absolutely hilarious. I really can't wait to see what else we have in store for us, and obviously Shax just breaking a violin, what more do you want? Of course, the starship is originally on its way to Cardassia Prime, which got me massively excited to hear a reference to that. If you've read any post-Dominion War Cardassian books, mostly by the great author Una McCormack, Cardassia Prime is a fascinating place post-Dominion War. But alas, we are disappointed as Captain Freeman is, as the starship is taken off of peace talks held on Cardassia Prime and is sent off to Galrak 5 to deliver diplomatic trinkets. Of course, our Lower Decks gang is doing menial tasks in a starship's brig, where we get the real truth about doing tasks on a Federation starship. Just like Scotty once said, you always exaggerate how long it takes you to do a job. With Scotty, it meant he could keep his reputation as a miracle worker. With the Lower Decks crew, it means they can save some buffer time and enjoy some sweet margaritas. I mean, who would complain? Of course, as Captain Freeman strolls through a ship, angry that others are simply strolling throughout the ship with their free time, she meets Ensign Boimler in the turbolift, who is humming the Next Generation theme. And of course, as we've come to learn by now, in classic Ensign Boimler fashion, he tells the captain exactly what buffer time is. Now that the captain knows, she sets up a schedule for all of the lower deck crew members, the ensigns, for their tasks under a mandated time frame. Mariner believes that the Delta Shift is responsible for telling the captain, unaware it was actually Boimler who did that. And before we know it, everyone is panicking, running around the ship trying to get their assignments done on time. Of course, with everyone panicking to get their assignments done on time, Boimler shows what he's good at, and has completed all of his assignments ahead of schedule, even offering to do more. Last episode we very much saw the weakness of Boimler, whereas in this episode we really see where Boimler thrives and does well, when he's following the rules and doing things to the T. In the shuttle bay, Commander Ransom does a signature Riker pose, leg perched up, as does the away team load up a Starfleet shuttlecraft, referencing previous away missions that haven't gone exactly to plan, such as the much manglined sentient Tar that murdered Tasha Yar. Yar and Tar, I wonder if that was planned. And we start to see the problem of giving the crew too many tasks, as a gift meant for the aliens on the planet was forgotten and replaced with a different case. And of course, before we know it, in typical Star Trek Lower Decks fashion, shit hits the fan, Ensign Venodome Verbolian gets impaled by a spear. Mariner jumps into the action and beats up the aliens with some sick moves, allowing Ransom and Venodome to move away. The quote, "We live on a spaceship and nobody is dying from a spear wound," Ensign Mariner says, but considering how many aliens in the original series had spears, it probably is a regular occurrence to die from a spear. Mariner also has a reference about this being with 2260s as well, and being Kirk. Commander Ransom runs up to the Galrakians and strikes another Riker pose, but as he is not Riker, it fails to work and he gets hit and trapped by an electric net. Back in orbit, due to a failed mission on the ground, the Galrakians have launched ships and have decided to board the Cerritos. Due to the overworked crew failing to get tasks done, shields have failed to be raised and the boarding was successful, all while Captain Freeman is desperately trying to do every job herself. The shot of the Galrakian ships detaching their boarding pods and landing on the hull of the starship was actually extremely cool, and such a great thing that can be done more easily in the medium of animated compared to live action. Then again, seeing boarding in Star Trek is always kind of impressive. Mariner and Ransom are inside a cage, and for the sake of themselves and their away team, they have chose who will fight to the trial of combat. They can throw in a crystal sword, because this entire planet is about crystals for some reason, which they fight amongst each other as why they should fight. Ransom then stabs Mariner in the foot, and without a way he can fight for trial, ripping off his shirt in the process. Boimler is shown to be much more competent as he finishes another task and easily phases some Garakians before going to a bridge and assisting the captain, though he's shocked to find out a bridge crew are under the same strict scheduling as that of the lower decks crew themselves. Meanwhile, back on the planet, as you can imagine, things are going hilariously well. Ransom is starting to attack Vindor with a classic TOS-style double fist punch. A variation of the original series fight music actually starts to play during this. In Star Trek Picard, we actually got a modern version of a Romulan theme, which is awesome to hear, so it's great to hear more classic Star Trek themes continue on in the newest series, essentially living on the legacy of original Star Trek. Fun little fact here, we recently reviewed a book called Star Trek Kirk Fu, which is all about Kirk's fighting style from the original series. I was oddly reminded of it when watching this episode of Ransom doing his poses, and I wonder if I read the book and compare to this episode, whether certain things could actually match up and be interesting. Back on Ceratops, Shax says the best line of the entire episode, "Damn it man, if you're trying to inspire some sort of resolution, then inspire it now," as he fights off multiple people trying to board the bridge. Ensign Boimler reminds Captain Freeman that not only are the captains of Starfleet ships great, but their crews are too, and do what needs to be done. With a new sense of inspiration and finally getting a promise of buffer time being reinstated, the crew managed to repel the intruders in elaborate ways, showing us how capable a crew is in a crisis and can do what needs to be done. Though it's kind of comical that he'd use a tripwire to get rid of some people and throw in crates. Very cliche from a comedy thing if you ask me. Back on the planet, Commander Ransom managed to win his fight to the death and wins, using some good old TOS fighting moves, and his away team are free to go, with of course our friendly Bolian being rescued even though he still has been stabbed by a spear. How he survived by this point, I have no idea. Now while Mariner and Ransom are in sickbay after the whole situation is solved, with Tiana saying that Mariner looks like a scratching post with his scars, Tiana's great and we much need more of her by the way. They basically have a bit of a heart to heart and understand this, but it doesn't go to plan as Mariner is dragged off the brig, kicking and screaming, while throwing the contents of the sickbay at Ransom. Now Boimler having basically saved the ship, the captain decides to enshrine the Boynton Effect as a rule that allows the crew to do what needs to be done, much to the dismay of Boimler, who doesn't want a rule named after himself about how a shortcut protocol is. His friends of course reassure him that this is just a temporary thing to show how appreciative the captain is towards him. But we later see on a planet in the far future, a school comprised of Andorians, XBs and other aliens is a history lesson about the Boynton Effect, named after Brad Boimler, who has a statue of him with a great bird of the galaxy. What is interesting to note is that Gene Roddenberry is referred to as the great bird of the galaxy. The teacher actually says, and of the Starfleet's important person, you guessed it, is Chief Miles O'Brien. We finally get some respect for our Iris engineer and it feels good. All those days of standing around the transporter room, finally some respect is shown. Now this episode was received rather well by the team here at Trek Central. Some regard it as the weakest episode we've seen so far, some like myself kind of found this one more enjoyable and really liked it. If I was to rate it out of the 3 episodes we've seen so far, I'm not sure. I'd probably put it as number 2. I really liked number 1. Number 2, I don't know. I'm not sure I'd rate these just yet, but I guess we can come back to that at a later date. The message I guess this episode tries to tell us is it isn't just the captain and a bridge crew of Federation ships that are good at what they do, but the whole crew of a ship will do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, but in trying to say this episode falters. I guess it's a bit of a weak message. Now a good example of this is when Ransom and Mariner are arguing over who should fight in the trial by combat. Both of the officers make very good points, with Ransom saying that Mariner's attitude that she would do anything for her friends, but not for the away team she is on, and Mariner saying that Ransom doesn't let others take risks over himself. This is built up really well, but then falls flat when Ransom stabs Mariner in the foot and goes off to the fight. The point is brought up to resolve slightly later in sickbay, when Mariner appreciates what he did, but then again it falls flat when Ransom puts her in the brig for going against orders. This could have been shown as great development for Commander Ransom, someone we've got very little from, but also Mariner as well. This episode also wasn't served by the shorter run of time in my opinion. It did feel quite rushed and almost dreamlike in that actually weirdly. The combat scene of a buff Ransom and TOS style fighting and the original series style music felt like what Ransom would have dreamed of, and actually made me think it was a dream sequence at first. So of being how it actually went down, it did kind of feel a little bit weird, but I did enjoy it though. With the introduction being from Ransom this episode, and the episode learning much more heavily on Commander Ransom as a character, it would be interesting if future episodes also lean on the bridge crew more, as Dr. Nana or Shax's heavy episode would be heavily appreciated from us here at Trek Central, as we love the characters. I say that, I still do feel we need to learn more about Captain Freeman. We know Ensign Mariner is her daughter, and we also know she's somewhat involved with the Starfleet Admiral, who, is Mariner's father. I feel like we need to learn more about her and her backstory at some point, and how Mariner came to be, and how these two characters met, and, gave birth to Mariner, essentially. We need to look into that a little bit more in deeper detail, I believe. Of course, the animation of this episode was beautiful, with more intricate space shots of ships than we have seen in previous episodes. I do look forward to future episodes which are much more ship-focused. Seeing some maneuvers or ship combat would be interesting to see in this animation. Then again, seeing a Next Generation style Bird of Prey was fantastic, and I really hope we do get to see more of that at some point. There was a Bird of Prey on the Star Trek Lower Decks poster, so to only see it in like 3 seconds of a clip for this one episode, I have a feeling it might be back at a later date. I do hope so. Now, one big thing I would love to mention is obviously the reference to Cardassia Prime and the peace negotiations. Taking place at the Dominion War was only finished a couple of years ago. This does make sense, and I'd love to see how it blends in and fits in it. Thanks to Star Trek Picard, we do know that it looks like Cardassia might have become part of a Federation, or is at least aligned near their space at this point, so this could set up something for a later date. Hey, maybe we'll see some more Cardassians in this series, or maybe just a simple Taylor could pay a visit. Of course, that is our review for episode 3 of Star Trek Lower Decks. Please share your thoughts with us on the third episode via the comments section below. We'll be back later this week with our references and Easter eggs video, but don't forget, this Sunday at 9 PM BST, we'll be live on YouTube with our weekly live stream. Tune in and I hope to see you very soon. If you're looking to keep up to date with the latest Star Trek news and more, make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe, or join our community Discord server to chat with like-minded Trekkies about the shows you love. Alright, that's everything for today. Thanks for watching everyone, I've been Captain Jack, and I'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends.